Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
We like to educate our listeners here every week and really kind of tell people, here are the questions you should ask about your finances. But Business Insider recently shared the story of an investor who actually lost his retirement savings for perhaps not asking enough questions, all because of a so-called free steak dinner. Okay, so turns out this guy got one of those mailers that a lot of us get, especially of a certain age. He showed up for a presentation, ended up investing in an alternative investment backed up by a firm that eventually went belly up bankrupt. And I am sure that, that's not the case with every investment or product that's pitched at one of these so-called free dinners or lunches out there that you hear about. But it does kind of serve, I think, as a warning for people. Sometimes it is too good to be true, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we see this continue to evolve, generation after generation. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about timeshares. All you had to do was go listen to a presentation. You got a free hotel for a weekend. Next thing you know, you're locked into a timeshare that is ironclad, and the guys from Suits wouldn't be able to get you out of.
Right.
Harvey. So, yeah, you got to ask questions. And if, at the very least, if something doesn't smell right, doesn't feel right, then it's not right for you. Or it wasn't explained properly, right? What is the ins and outs? And I think our biggest advice to our clients and to just people we talk to is everyone's going to tell you about the good of something. Who's telling you about the bad? Right. If they're not telling you about the bad, then there's something out there.
We have a red marker. We talk about it all the time on the radio show because, we're not getting it all the time because anything is bad, but there are things to where maybe a time frame is longer, maybe access to liquidity is different in one situation versus the other. But to Gerald's point, you should absolutely be hearing about these things, about everything positive, middle, and negative that could come about with any investment, because you are not in this every day.
Right.
And we get that. And so you definitely don't want to work with somebody who's just talking about only the good things, like you said, Gerald, but also you don't want somebody to be talking above your knowledge, right? You want them to meet you where you're at. And so that's one of those things too, is don't forget to ask those questions and see what those answers are. Are they being direct? Are they getting out a red marker, right? But that's something we do here at Matson Financial. Yeah,
this is one of those things, not to go deep into the minutia of this story, but this was a life insurance product that you bought in, and you were actually buying the death benefits of a life insurance company that would have been paid to the bondholders. So they were buying and selling life insurance policies on the secondary market while the life insurance company originator ended up going out of business. So none of those death proceeds got paid out, and the whole investment went belly up. That's always a risk, especially with alternative investments. There's stocks, there's bonds, there's alternative investments. You have to be mindful of, okay, what are you investing in to know whether or not it's a good investment for you?
What kind of statements do you get, right? How are things traded? Are there trade fees? There's so many questions to ask. And our goal when you visit with us at that first time, we call it that first meeting, is we're going to basically tell you everything about us, how we get paid, our investing philosophy. So what happens when markets are up? What happens when they're down? Because they're not going to always be up. We understand that. And also, how do we create this whole plan, not only to get you to retirement, but through retirement, and be on this retirement journey with us as your trusted mentor for the next 30 or more years, and hopefully past your life, to where we get to help, the charities you care about, or perhaps, legacy with kids and grandkids. So we're here for the long haul, and we want to educate you every step of the way.
And it's okay when you're sitting across, when you're thinking about buying something, whether it's a car, whether it's talking to a financial planning service, the best question I'll always ask, what's in it for you? I love when people ask me that question, what do you get out of this? I'm going to tell you, to the penny, to the dollar, this is what I get. I want you to know that, because it builds that relationship that we need. So no matter what you're doing, if you're unsure, ask what's in it for them. Who are you buying it from? What's in it for you for buying this, right?
Yeah, that's great. And if you see them squirm, it might be time to walk out of the room. And
right, I say keep asking questions. Yeah. That's fun.
Real life lessons about your retirement. You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Well, right now the Federal Reserve is indicating they're being really cautious about interest rate cuts going forward, but we're likely to see more in the coming months. However, there's still some room to use higher interest rates right now to actually outpace inflation. I know right now, with my own high yield savings account, it's not looking as great rate wise as it did, say, a year ago at this time. But how are you helping clients evaluate where to save their dollars, especially for that portion of their savings that they don't want at risk necessarily in the market?
Yeah, this is generally what we consider your emergency fund. My wife calls it her bail money. If I go out and rebel rouse, my wife's got the cash to bail me out. No,
Good job, Julie. Good job.
But, with this emergency fund, the whole point of it is you have access to it, so it's liquid. It's not tied up. There's generally no fees, no penalties to access it. But what you don't want to have happen is your $50,000 that's in the bank this year doesn't buy the same thing that it could buy next year because the return on it is lower than inflation. So what Bob was saying is the same thing I tell all my clients. Look, you've got an emergency fund. Great. We have been so used to the last 10 years not caring about what the interest rates were at the bank because they were all garbage. Our money wasn't making any money, but inflation was low. Interest rates were low. We didn't care. Interest rates are higher now. Inflation is higher. The cost of things are going up much quicker. So now we have to pay attention to that emergency fund to make sure that we do not lose purchasing power. And what it buys this year, just being in the bank, it's going to buy the same thing next year.
And I mean, for Taylor and I, with, that kind of outlook of our emergency funds, we ended up switching banks because it was much easier to bank through our online portal and things like that. But man, we were getting cents, right?
Right.
And to Gerald's point, our money was not working as hard as we did for it, and that's important. And so we ended up looking and saying, where can our dollar make the most impact in a savings? And we found that new bank and switched over. And man, it's so good to see hey, it's actually doing something for us over here. So it's worth that conversation. Definitely worth not only your banks, but revisiting your entire portfolio strategy to see how is that aligning with your goals in general, and how does that then, as the secondary piece, how is it taking into consideration where inflation is at right now and some of these other interest rates?
Yeah, you don't want to have to shop around your working, say, checking account. Well, now, because in this day and age, you've got auto pays on everything, and it comes out, and if you change your bank account where all the bills are getting paid, that's a pain in the butt. But the actual emergency fund, the money you don't touch until something happens or the furnace goes out or there's a major car repair, that can be at any bank. Just make sure it's working for you.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Matson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Matson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Matson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.